Good morning, everyone. Thank you for Lerato for such a wonderful introduction. Sometimes these things that we achieved, we don't even remember them when we achieved them. This is a very long journey. So, colleagues, today I'm going to talk about the pharmaceutical nanotechnology and emphasizing on the slope of enlightenment and the future perspective. Maybe before I even go ahead with my presentation, I just have to warn everyone that the presentation that I'm going to give today, it might not necessarily be the natural one that you normally know for conferences and stuff. I was just talking to my friend earlier about it. It's all about my presentation. It's more like a history class and also science friction. So this is a very serious warning that you guys warn that I might be sharing with you the science friction and also history. Colleagues, whether or not, normally it's also important to always try to start with the definition, just to accommodate those that are not necessarily familiar with the technology. This is just a definition that I got it from the USA Nanotechnology Initiative. The question is, what is nanotechnology? According to the NNI, they say nanotechnology is a science, engineering, and technology conducted at the nanoscales. We are talking about atoms, molecules. We're talking about technology at 1 to 100 nanometer. This is very tiny things. 100 nanometers, very small particles. So nanoscience and nanotechnology are the study and application of extremely something small that can be used across all other science fields such as chemistry, biology, physics, materials, and engineering. Actually, I think nanotechnology is sort of like, for me, when I look at it, it's affecting a lot of other departments because no one knows where nanotechnology belongs. Some say it belongs to scientists, to physics, some biologics, some materials. So there's a lot of confusion when it comes to the issue of nanotechnology, who own nanotechnology. So, like I indicate, I'll start with the definition so people get familiar. And the first definition is nanomedicine. Nanomedicine is the medical application of nanotechnology, which we cover things like therapeutics, diagnostics, imaging, vaccine, and the regenerative medicines, which is just on a new branch that is growing quickly. There's a lot of things happening on the regenerative medicines using nanomaterials. And the other division that I just add is pharmaceutical nanotechnology. What is pharmaceutical nanotechnology? Basically, pharmaceutical nanotechnology is the application of nanotechnology in pharmaceutics. It's just pharmaceutical nanotechnology is a branch of nanomedicine, just focusing specific more on the therapy part of it. I just put some few examples of these pharmaceutical nanomaterials, which are liposomes, that are dominantly known for liposomes, lipid nanoparticles. These are dominantly known as vehicles. So majority of people who you ask what a nanotechnology, they're always familiar with that nanotechnology. They are like a vehicle, a carrier, they carry things from one place to another. But with advanced technology now, we can really see that also metallic nanomaterials, which is just another venture, where nanotechnology is not only about vehicle, it's not delivering, it's no longer about protecting anything. It's also looking at using nanomaterials themselves as a therapy. So nanomaterials, they can work as a therapy. They can play a role in terms of imaging and diagnostics. So instead of just having nanomaterials for delivery, now you can deliver, you can treat, you can also image or diagnose using one single nanomaterials. This is the advantage or the growth of this technology since the era of liposomes. Nanotechnology is playing a big role in terms of overcoming several drawbacks associated with conventional therapy. One of the challenges with the conventional therapy is that they are known to have a challenge in terms of low bioavailability, low efficacy. They are known to be having a challenge of being able to deliver drug to specific area of infections, which they ended like damaging healthy cells, and sometimes they ended like causing systematic toxicity. And eventually we see people no longer interested in taking some of this medication because some of the medication are very toxic. You drink a medication, you feel a lot of pain. So it's a bit of a challenge. So the nanotechnology, it's basically trying to overcome some of the setbacks. So I just put some of the examples where nanotechnologies have making an impact. Some of the challenges was that the issue of hydrophobic drugs that are not soluble in water. So it was very difficult in a controversial approach, where with nanomaterial we're seeing that we can able to encapsulate those hydrophobic drugs and also hydrophilic drugs using nanomaterials. And we can even get higher efficacy, particularly for hydrophobics, because when you're using lipids nanomaterial, they are more soluble, they're almost like 100% as soluble and able to encapsulate it, or you almost get 100% encapsulations using lipids nanomaterials. Because of the structure, which I'm going to explain details in the later slides. The other part, which is very interesting about these nanomaterials or nanotechnology in pharmaceuticals, that they are able to extend the bioactivity by providing protections or payload or drugs, so that it can reach to suppose where it's supposed to go. Because majority of drugs, they can't reach where they're supposed to go because in the bloodstreams, there are enzymes that are chopping down some of the drugs, and as a result, some drugs they cannot reach to where they're supposed to go. So using some materials like polyethylene glycol, this is some example where we've seen a lot of success in nanotechnology. Nanotechnology, they're also making an impact in terms of control release. Control release, you can delay in control release, you can play a role, quick release. If you want something like a chronic disease, you want it to control or prolong, you can able to achieve that using some of these nanomaterials. With the nanomaterials, you're able to extend release, reducing dosage frequency. Dosage frequency is one of the bigger challenge. Many people, they don't comply with therapy because of frequency dosage. So imagine they say take 3 drugs in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the evening. Majority of people don't really follow this. And as a result, they suffer consequence of not able to see the result of these drugs. With nanotechnology, we are likely to see in the future that you develop something that you develop nanomaterials that can able to bypass the daily dosage. And now with the opportunity that with nanomaterials, we're likely to see every 3 months, even if a year. The advantage of this prolong, I think it would be very perfect when it comes to treatment like a TB, where it's about 6 months or so. So instead of just a person taking dosage every day, you can get only 1 dose, and then in 6 months' time, maybe they can go for a checkup to see whether they still have a TB or not. And nanotechnology, again, we see such a success where the nanotechnology that play a role in terms of combining 2 or more drugs in one unit. You'll find like 3 or even 4 drugs there, they in one single nanoparticles can able to encapsulate the drugs. So this is also play a role in terms of the having a big size of tablet. Instead of this big tablet, you can make a small tablets with a 1 in 4. Just one tablet having incorporated with nanomaterials and having like 4 drugs in one, and which all will be remaining significance in terms of treatment. You can see also the thing that were not possible with controversial therapy, that you can combining both therapeutics and diagnostic in one unit. So basically with one nanomaterials, you can able to combine both therapy and also diagnostic, which is also known as diagnostics in real time. So in terms of just give example, the example you are sick or you want to know whether you were COVID, you with a future of nanotechnology, you are likely to find that you've got a COVID in the same time treating, which is quite interesting in real time. So this is something that is very interesting about some of these development of nanotechnology. And then some other things which we challenge for years is the issue of the biological barriers, the blood-brain barriers, where a majority of drugs and controversial traditional drugs, they won't pass through. So now with nanomaterials, these drugs, they are now able to pass through. And looking at the triple B or blood-brain barriers and other things like epithelia and endothelium barriers, this is the place where normally our HIV, which enjoying to stay in the reservoir and hide inside there and remaining dormant for many times. So with nanomaterials now, we are able to follow the virus wherever it goes. If it hides somewhere, nanomaterials, they can go there and it can able to treat the virus in a very unique place, which previously it was not easy to achieve. With the advantage that nanomaterials, we can also functionalize them. We bypass the barrier that I was indicating earlier with the traditional medicine that it's difficult to deliver drug to where it's supposed to go. So traditionally, a person will take so many drugs. Maybe they'll say take 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the evening, with a hope that some of these drugs they'll go where it's supposed to. So engineering them with the target deliverance, and you're already bypassing that kind of challenge. You can have one single drug that will play that role because it's now functionalized. So it means majority of drugs definitely go to where there's infection rather than go to any other part of the body, which is becoming an issue when it comes to issue of damaging, also targeting the normal cells, which later resulting into some of this systematic toxicity and delay causing patients not complying. But with this success, we are now able to see less toxic drugs, and we're able to see people complying quite easily. I mean, like if you're taking drug one time or every 3 months, particularly those that suffer from chronic, we're likely to see them doing very well with this kind of formulations. One of the structure which I love so much in South is this structure, this diagram, but to put in that context. The diagram that I show you, you can really see this diagram. It gives us a lot of, someone who's not familiar with nanotechnology, it gives you all information, how nanotechnology look like. We have got a size, which we already indicated is 1 to 100 nanometers. And then we already indicating that you can use different type of materials. You can use materials like lipids, polymers, metals, non-metals, organic and inorganic polymers and all those things. You can formulate them in different type of shapes. You can make them to come in the shape of sphere, tube, plate, star, and rod. You can also make them to have a functionalize on the surface. So for protections and also for incorporating targeting ligands. Just indicating about targeting deliverance, you can really see from the structure here, we can make them to be more stable. Previously, it was difficult in the early discovery of liposome. One of the biggest challenges was the stability of nanoparticles, or liposomes. With now incorporating things like polyethylene glycol, PEG, we are more likely to see this majority of the nanomaterial that we're generating. They are very stable. They can able to direct the drugs where it's supposed to go, where there's infections. They can also deal with the issue of imaging. It means we can able to know, to see where the virus is going, the drug is going in real times. So which is quite exciting to know that now we are able to see where the drugs that we injected or the medication that we're drinking, where it's going. So these are exciting things. By doing that, we are likely to find the improve of efficacy. That's why sometimes when you're looking to some of these formulations that are nanomaterials, they are showing they've got a very good improved efficacy and they've got reduced side effects. Just giving an example of COVID-19 vaccines. The growth of nanotechnology since from the early 90s or early 61, just I indicated about liposome, is that now we just looking at, this is an article that was published showing that there's a lot of applications that are coming out with a nanomedicine or nanopharmaceutics. You can really see from early 90s, there was absolutely nothing. But you're looking now, you can see there's a big investment in our researchers, where there are a lot of publications that are coming out, showing that people are now more interested. The investors are also putting money towards this technology, and we're seeing this kind of success. Like I indicated, the discovering of this, discovery of nanomedicine or the nanotechnology in application in health or in pharmaceutics, it started way back. Although then it was not known, I mean, it's something that was not popular then. The discovery of liposome, which is also part of nanomaterials, It was discovered in 1961 by the British hematologist Professor Alex, who published this, which work was discovered in 1961 and only published in 1964. And this was done in Abraham Institution in Cambridge. For me, I feel like the success of nanotechnology is just influencing by the availability of these instruments like electron microscopy, because it was very difficult to confirm you've got something in a nano size without a microscope. So basically the success it was influencing also by the development of microscopy like electron microscopy that can able to see something in the nanoscale or atomic level. So looking at the structure, this is the structure of unilamellar liposomes that's showing that it have got a aqua interior and composing of hydrophobic tails and heads. Thereafter, there's some kind of noise that's coming. I don't know if you can assist there. Thereafter. Okay, I hope she get that one. The importance of the milestone of development of nanomedicine from 1961, like I told you, my presentation will be much more like a history class. It was 1976 when the first discovering of control release polymer nanoparticles. And in 1978, there was the first publication published by Dendrimer, which was published in 1978. In 1980, there was the first targeted liposome. So the liposome that was functionalized with the targeting ligand so that it can deliver the drug we're supposed to go. This was first discovered or published in 1980. In 1994, which is 1994 is a very common day for a common year for all of us South Africans, because this is the year where we first ever on elections, democratic elections. And I thought like this is important because we are in the election mode right now. There's the first discovering of long circulating PLG PEG nanoparticles was achieved in 1994. Today, we are seeing liposomes, which is completely different. We're seeing liposomes that can play a role, that can incorporate with the therapeutic agent, which can be incorporated with drugs. Today, we're seeing nanoparticles that can do the diagnostic. Today, we're seeing nanoparticles that can direct drugs where there's infections. So today, we're seeing targeted diagnostic liposome delivery system. There are many types of nanoparticles. So just thinking about sharing all of them, it will take the whole day or take some hours. There are many of them that are already used in drug delivery or nano drugs. We've got lipid nanoparticles, nanocarrier. It's very popular now because of COVID. We have self-assembled nanocarriers. This is some of this using a specific type of polymers or lipid materials. We've got inorganic nanomaterials, which are very interesting, which are gold, a very common one, the gold, silver, diamonds. So very exciting things. They are also being used for medical purposes. We've got viral nanoparticles, virosomes. You've got some that are just polymer conjugated with some of the drugs that are already in the market out there. The landscape of pharmaceutical nanotechnology it started to be more serious in early 90s, where 1995, where the discovery of doxide, which showing in 1995, there was the discovery of the first nanomedicine, and it was very exciting. You can see from the peak, probably everyone was very excited. A lot of investment come on board. We're happy that finally the nanotechnology, which was discovered in early 1961, finally is coming to reality where people now they can use it for medications. And then we see this until now where we're reaching, we have seen the 2020, 2021, which we've got Moderna and Pfizer. I'm going to explain some more of this in the later slides. According to the data, it's showing the literature showed that in 2018, there were about 58 FDA approved nanomedicines and another 51 clinical trials. But I think right now we are around 60 something FDA approved. I can't even list how many of those that are in preclinical study. There are many of those that are in preclinical studies, including the COVID-19 vaccine. There's so many. 58 are those that are approved by FDA and the European Medicine Agency, Science and Medicine. Like I said, there are around 60 something. I just put some few of them here, and you can really see that nanotechnology is playing a big role in terms of treating complex disease like cancer, inflammatory disease, the influenza. Yes, there are so many other diseases. Actually, right now there are many drugs that are available that are probably in preclinical study. We're focusing almost all type of diseases. The formulations, although majority of the drugs that are available or in the pipeline are those that are focusing particularly on a cancer therapy. Formulations, it goes from liposomes, goes to some polymer material, inorganic nanoparticles. So yeah, there are many drugs. I just don't want to go through all of them because of time, but there are many drugs that are already in a commercial or in our clinics that we can use for treating for diseases, particularly cancer. I just thought because this lecture is a history part, let me just show you that the doxal was first discovered in 1995, approved by FDA in 95. And if you're looking at 1995, the history in 1995, it was a time where HIV was killing a lot of people in big number. So for me, I feel like I was just thinking that it looks like nanotechnology enjoy capitalizing either epidemic or pandemic disease, where in 1995, AIDS was one of the major disease or attack. Then in 1995, showing that the drugs was used particularly more in people who were suffering with AIDS-related sarcoma. But today, we can see drugs is also used for many other types of cancer, breast cancer, many others. And for those that want to mimic and also formulating some kind of same, the formulations which were used for this drug were a combination of pegylated liposome encapsulated with rorubicin. Another one which follows, which was in 2005. By the way, this is not following, I'm not following the order. I'm just giving some of examples that I found them very exciting. This one was discovered in July 9, 2005 and approved in 2005, drug called Abraxane. Abraxane was used particularly for breast cancer. Today, the drug is used for many other types of cancers, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, and many others. And this is it's the drugs formulations for those who want to mimic. It's just paclitaxel proteins bounded with nanoparticles. I just decided to show you who discovered this because this is very exciting to show that South African, we have good talent, we're capable in some of those things. We probably just need the platforms. This is the owner of the company, the owner of the company, Abraxis Biosciences, the company that discovered this Abraxane. This is the guy, his name is Dr. Patrick Son Shong. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name right. Patrick Son Shong, who invented this drug. Patrick is actually a graduate from Wits University, just for those who are not familiar. He was born in South Africa, in PE, and although now he lives in California, he invented these drugs a long time ago. And now they sold the company. It's now these products under the banner or under the brand Celigen. Sold it in 2010. Another one which is very exciting. Like I saw, this is not an order. I'm not following like this year. I'm just showing some of them that were very interesting. Like this other one in August 2018, 20 years of RNA interference. The FDA approved patisiran, which is the first RNA interference drugs to be approved by FDA. And this artisan is now under the brand name called or on Patro. On Patro. I'm not sure if I'm putting also pronouncing very well. The drug is actually used for treating polyneuropathy caused by amyloidosis. And this was just the engineering of this drug was basically siRNA, a small RNA interference incorporated within the lipid nanoparticles. And actually, one of the things that is very interesting is that this was the first FDA RNA nanotech therapy to be approved in 2018. And this is the first gene therapy containing lipid nanoparticles to be approved. So I think if you look at the literature, you really see that just after 2018, so many people have now embarked on a gene therapy. And gene therapy become a thing of the future. It become very exciting. We see this gene therapy indeed from 2018 was very important and very exciting. And the gene therapy plus RNA therapy become something of very exciting. And we see this by just after 2 years of the approval by FDA, we've seen the coming of the new generation or the next generation of vaccine, which are the nucleic acid vaccines, the messenger RNA nanotech vaccine, the DNA nanotech. These are the next generation. The door of that sRNA RNA vaccine that was approved in 2018 have opened this big opportunity. It is after years of trial and errors. Yeah, and I know many people keep asking me most of the time, like, oh, this messenger RNA vaccine was just engineered like a 1 year. People are using it's risky. It's what? But this is if you look at a combination of RNA interference playing together with lipids, you really see that the journey of nanoparticles is started a long way back in 1961. And the RNA technology started long way back, but RNA is 2020 and more back there. It was started to scientists were busy embarking on the research. It's only now that the combination of the two come together and we see the success of messenger RNA and DNA nanotech vaccines. Yeah. We all now familiar, we all know familiar with Pfizer. Many people, they always ask me, what are these nano vaccines? I told them, I don't even to waste my time explaining what are the nano vaccine. I always tell them, the Pfizer is nanotechnology. So but people are not familiar that Pfizer that people are injected, they're injected with nanotechnology. So most of the people are already getting Pfizer. You just need to know that in the bloodstream, there is a nanotechnology protein in their blood. So we saw this success last year. Pfizer and then Moderna, they're embarking on this technology and show the success, get approval with the FDA. And today there are many, more than 21 nanotech-based COVID vaccine that are human clinical trials. That majority of them, they're already phase 2 and phase 3, then it was the last stage. A lot of people, you can really see that it's just a year, people are already embarking on this technology and wanted to use it for the benefits because it was discovering that the gene therapy or the messenger RNA vaccine does have a room to play in pharmaceutics. The other one is the DNA nanotech also. DNA nanotech also. So also this next generation. It's unfortunately that we don't have finally approval DNA nanotech yet. But we saw last year that there were a lot of embarking also, and many of them that are already in clinical trials. They're using the difference between DNA and messenger RNA, that DNA using a plasmid DNA for producing the spike proteins that will provoke evoking protecting immunity against the virus or producing neutralizing antibodies. Very few companies that are already in the last stage. We can really see that the engineering of it is just basically using cationic polymers, lipid nanoparticles, encapsulated with a plasmid DNA, which encoding the spike proteins. So the only two companies that are on the top in terms of this DNA Nanotech vaccine is Novio Pharmaceutical, which is an American company, and Entos Pharmaceutical, which is Canadian company. The Canadian company just recently have received the approval by SAPRA, or South African Regulation Authority. They approved them for phase 2 clinical trials. Will be done also in South Africa. The other one, which is very exciting, Nanotech vaccine, it's a recombinant protein, Nanotech, which basically this one, the difference between it uses it delivers spike proteins using nanomaterials to develop immunity against the coronavirus. The company that has put a lot of investment on this one, it's Novavax. Novavax. Actually, just to tell you a bit of story about Novavax. Novavax, I mean, when we started last year in 2020, we were talking about the vaccine. This was the vaccine which were on the front lane. It was number one, almost the one that was supposed to treat everyone, supposed to be the one that today we're talking much about it. When it started last year, this vaccine, when they done the clinical trial last year, it was showing about 95.6 efficacy against the original viruses. But we all know now that this variant, the variants, when the virus start mutating, we start getting variants. The UK variant showing that from 95.6, it moved to 89% efficacy. In South African HIV also, but before the mutants in South Africa also, it was very high. But when the mutants, which South African mutant, which is 501Y.V2, is showing that with HIV negative participants, it was only showing 55 efficacy, which it was good enough for continued therapy. But when the testing in the HIV positive patient was showing that the efficacy went down to less than 50, and it passed the mark of 50% efficacy. As a result, a lot of people around the world, because of the result, they dropped this vaccine and no one was interested. But Novavax didn't really continue doing. As the virus continued mutating with different type of variants, even Delta now from India, we've got Alpha from Brazil. The vaccine also works in a very fun way. Some of vaccines that were working today, tomorrow they're not working. Tomorrow this new variant, they're working. So this is very exciting. The Novavax didn't stop continuing. They continued the clinical trial. I think last year they have conducting a very big clinical trials in Mexico, in America. And in their result, the published result in June, showing that 94% efficacy in preventing symptomatic infections and 100% effective against moderate and severe disease. And recently, in Indonesia approved this vaccine. And actually approval was done 2 days ago by Indonesia. Indonesia approved Novavax as a vaccine for their people. So recombinant protein nanotech vaccine is already approved. It's working in Indonesia. They're using it as their own vaccine. So we can see there's a lot of success in nanotechnology development. My next few slides, I'm going to be talking about what's happening now and what's possible to happen in the future. I wanted to focus on the future only, but I realized majority of things that's happening, they are the one that we're going to talk about them in the future, which majority of this, it will be nanorobotics. Whether we like it or not, we already see during COVID that robots, they're coming. Whether we were interested or against or we like it or not, they're coming. So in also nanomedicine, we're likely to see that robotic will be playing a big role in areas like gene editing. One thing that is known about HIV is that there is a co-receptor called CCR5, which is very common to macrophage trophy strains of HIV-1 and HIV-2, which is responsible for viral transmission. So basically, HIV to be transmitted from one person to another, transmission of infection continues because of the allowance of virus to bind to the receptor and able to enter into the whole cells and causing the infections. The interesting thing about these macrophages is that they've got different kind of They've got receptors that are within the surface that allow the virus to bind and enter into the cells. These receptors are 3 of them. The first one is CCR5, which is core receptor. The second one is a CD4 receptor. The last one is a CXCR4 core receptors. But the study shows that, recent study showed that once you knock down the CCR5 core receptor, you can prevent completely the viral transmission. So this, we saw also this kind of success in a few years ago when we saw the Berlin patient, Mr. Timothy Brown, the first person to be cured for HIV in 2008. And the other one, London patient, Adam Castelloge, the second person to be cured for HIV. These 2 patients were cured because they were using a stem transplant from a donor with a mutation part of the DNA known as a CCR5 delta 32. So basically, they've got a mutations within the receptor, which means the receptor was no longer the same. So the virus, once it comes, it will never able to do transmission and do viral replications because it prevented, it cannot enter into the cells. So that mutation was the one that causing the cure for these patients. So one can tell that we are likely to see very soon or in our lifetime a cure for HIV because it's just an issue of using a proper technology in order to prevent or to achieve this. Like I said, some of my presentation will sound like a science fiction. These are nanorobots. What the study that are already done on this kind of things, it shows that if we use a nanorobot, we are more likely to capable to shrink a solid tumor by cutting off the blood flow or blood supply. So it shows that if you're preventing the veins and the capillaries that supply the blood into the solid tumor, using the DNA or origami animation, we're likely to suffocate the tumor. So this is one of the methods that they're saying this is what we're likely to see. And these studies are already done showing this possible success. Another one is anti-cancer smart nanobombs. Very fascinating to talk about them. That you are likely to see in future. These are actually some of the studies I've already done that you can use some of the nanomaterials, particularly those that are characteristic of photodynamic therapy, such as gold, silver, that they are known that if using the photodynamic, which are light source of specific wavelength, you are likely to induce cytotoxic reactive oxygen species and hydrogen peroxide, and you are able to kill the cancer cells without affecting the normal tissue or cells. The other one we're showing smart nanobombs that they can basically, the smart nanobombs, they will work quite very well with the external stimulus. For me, I was just thinking about, I like watching a lot of movies. Normally, when you're watching a movie, you see these zombies. The zombies, like they like to hide in the dark. When the light comes, they like this, the skin start peeling and stuff like those. So basically, you're more likely to have this kind of injection with the tumor. Basically, maybe the tumor, or that is like in the tumor, not necessarily the interior part, but not necessarily the cancer cells, but rather the tumors. You are more likely to stand outside the sun, and by standing outside, you collapse the entire tumor because of the stimulus, which could be either just the sun itself outside, or it can be LED lights or UV lights, or by magnetic field can induce this based on other things like magnetic field. The other one, which is very exciting, is the Nano Dream. The Nano Dream. They said this is quite exciting discovery. They're showing that this molecular machines that can drill the holes in the cancer cells. You can cause the cell death immediately by drilling the cell membrane. the discovery showed that this nano driller, they can drill the membrane of a cancer cell and kill it within 30 to 60 seconds, basically. Yeah, you can kill the cancer. And the success has been achieved, shown in a cell culture. They were using prostate cancer cells. This is a study which was done by University of Rice under the leadership of Professor James Tour, showing that the engineering this nano driller, according to Professor James, he said these nanomaterials, the way they behave, they're actually influencing by the stimuli, like the light. So they said they can float quickly, they can flow around, and they can turn around quickly and spin around using based on the light. They're very light sensitive. So when it's exposed to light, they can turn around and spin until they drill the cell membrane and cause cell damage. And by doing cell membrane damage, you completely kill the cells. The nanobots or nanorobots, they are likely to revolutionize medicine in many ways. I mean, we are likely to see the doctor could treat anything in particular, from could be heart disease, could be cancer. The doctor can even do surgery using these nanorobots. They can also be used to carry drugs. Sometimes they can even carry oxygen, and injected in single red blood cells. They can be used to kill cancer cells, probably by generating some kind of electric current or some heat that can kill the cells. The advantage about them is that they also come with something like some camera, and they can swim quite very well. They said these nanobots, they are mimicking some bacteria such as E. coli, which is composed of flagella, and they're making the swimming tail just like a flagella. So you can use these nanobots for monitoring our blood streams. So in the future, what we're likely to inject people with these nanobots, and probably with your cell phone, you can able to see what's happening in your blood streams. Some of these nanobots, they will play a role in terms of blood clotting. You just go there and see the blood clottings with the nanobombs and the other thing driller I talk about, maybe incorporate. They can probably drill somewhere. They say blood clottings. Some they say they can even clean our lungs. These nanobots. Probably these are the future where we can have technology like this, where anything can be achieved, and deliver drugs, and we can do many other things. One can thinking. I was talking to my friend. I said, "This is sound like science fiction indeed." But like the big pharma or big companies, they are now realizing they are not going to wait for these things to be reality or not. They're putting investment on it. We've got Google, the normal Google that we know. They've invested a lot of money in something Google X, which is working on nanoparticles that swim through the blood and identify cancer and other disease. They use magnetic nanoparticles that can circulate through the bloodstreams, and they bind to suspicious protein, sugar molecules, and other molecules, probably other toxic materials that are within chemicals or anything that in our bodies. And then these things, once you identify these suspicious things, they will be able to report. And as a result, we're more likely to, usually in this case, we're more likely to use the same mode where you either have a band, which once these things find the suspicious protein in sugar, it will probably do some kind of vibration. Vibration can also be happening with that. Maybe you can even create an app if possible. I'm not sure about it. You can create an app on your phone where you can able to monitor where this magnetic nanoparticle going, and where there's a vibration, probably you know where your conditions need some kind of checkup with the doctors. By the way, this is not just only the future. This is already developed. It's just waiting for FDA approval. Although big companies that are putting a lot of money, even a startup company, I think actually since from 2018, there were big investment in European countries and American countries, America and Europe. they put a lot of money on this kind of nanotechnology or medicine, or nanomedicine and such. Even a startup company, they start embarking on this. This is Onco Nano, which is oncology nanotechnology. The startup company, they develop nanomaterials which enable to fluorescent probes to help the cancer surgeon to visualize tumor during surgery. So instead of a doctor just cutting around the solid tumor without knowing that he'll have some cells growing there. So with using this, you can create some fluorescent probe that will help the doctor to see by not once you manage to remove the whole tumor, you can able to see by saying that there's no longer anything fluorescence, which means there's no recurring later. You know, expect a cancer to come back because of some leftovers during surgery. Another company is Blue Willows Biologics. They realizing they want to capitalize on a different approach in terms of vaccine, delivering. They know a lot of people don't like injections, particularly young children's, magogos, some people with some dementia disease. They don't like these kind of injections. So most of us don't like these kind of things. This company have discovered the generating intrasanal vaccine, which utilizing novel oil in water nanoemulsions that will be used able for intrasanal vaccine for respiratory disease. They are also embarking on looking at therapies, not only vaccines, for this approach. We are living in an era of fourth industrial revolutions. So whereby the success goes beyond just drugs. It goes into the point of manufacturing. We can see now South Africa has become one of the African countries that's allowed to start embarking on manufacturing of drugs. But the challenges are that sometimes it's difficult to manufacture with a normal approach, but with 3D printing, where you just put everything in a 3D printer and you automate it, you press the machine manufacture drugs for you. I think that will make it easy. The company is called Nanoforms, which is in Finland. It's a startup company in Finland, which is very known for nanoparticles medicine or nanomedicine engineering. Together with Aprecia, which is an American company, which is already showing the success in 3D printing by printing a 3D drug products in 2015 already. So it's almost 5-6 years ago. They're already showing this. The two companies, they are now joining venture together. The agreement to a collaboration were signed this year in April 2021. They agree that they want to embark on formulating a lot of these nanomedicine using the 3D printers. So we're more likely to see a lot of these things happen. So for me, I feel like once these kind of things are achievable, we're more likely to see also every country to have their own 3D printer, be able to manufacture drugs of their own. In future, we're likely to see a novel nanotechs being used for reformulation in all vaccine and drugs that are no longer in the clinics, with the advantage that nanocarrier-based systems can deliver vaccine and drugs in area where traditional vaccine cannot or drugs cannot. We know the old drugs that are popular during the early 90s, 60s, early 16th centuries, the chloroquines and quinine. This is some of drugs that were very popular for treatment of anti-malaria, as anti-malaria or treating for malaria disease. We also know last year there was some president in another country, I won't mention the country, who was very excited about bringing these drugs back to the market as a form of treating for COVID. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because they didn't show any efficacy. In future, we also see nanotechnology being a player also, other epidemics or pandemic, such as COVID. We see that COVID now, the vaccine, which is messenger RNA, which is popular, which is Pfizer, popular because it's engineered bed of nanomaterials. So we're likely to see a lot of this kind of innovation coming from it. For me personally, I feel like once I started to notice last year, I've seen a lot of investment going on around the world, which the engineering will base on graphene nanomaterials, looking for the application of them in biomaterials or biomedical or pharmaceuticals as such. So I think the more we learn about technology, learn about materials, and discoveries are happening, things start moving faster. I mean, these things have been there for years, but last year or so, a couple of years, the graphene was shown to a lot of properties, including towards the biomedical applications. And then the success of COVID-19 with the messenger RNA vaccine is showing that it's opening a lot of big door for many other engineering of messenger lipid nanoparticle or vaccine or therapy. We already see that there's a lot of embarking clinical trials going on, some of the study of cancer immunotherapy using the messenger RNA. We are already seeing some embarking in HIV, malaria, and Zika viruses. And we're likely to see many other things. I think the HIV also, there's a possibility. I heard there's some good news, but I'm sure the owner will share in the right time. And they're showing some success of using messenger RNA Nanotech vaccine for HIV, which is quite exciting if possible to achieve that. So we're more likely to get some news probably end of the year or next year. However, nanotechnology alone, it's not going to work. We definitely, it will depending on the convergence. Pharmaceutical nanotech in the Industry 4.0 will only be success or driven in the future by the convergence or synergy of innovative technology, such as nanotechnology. Probably to succeed, it requires biotechnology, it requires artificial intelligence, it requires 3D printing. We just talk about the success now, machine learning. There's some other studies that are showing that with putting machine learning and other things, we are able to predict the outcome of some of this formulation that we're working on, plus including artificial intelligence. Advanced materials, I just mentioned now about graphene. That graphene, which was previously used for many other things, is now starting opening opportunity to be used into medicine. Like I said, nanotechnology alone won't be successful in the future. The success of nanotechnology will require the convergence. It will be based on the convergence, not these technology that I indicate up there working in isolations. Combinations will be, the convergence is the future. Those are the reference.
Thank you very much, Doc, for an excellent talk, really. I think we have learned a lot about nanotechnology today. Okay, I open the floor for everyone to ask questions and say comments. Thank you very much. Lee, the floor is yours. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Mufamadi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. As usual, great presentation. Very interesting history and way forward with this nanotechnology. But I was looking forward to hearing about our own herbal medication, how we can encapsulate them or what work is done out there so far. But I see you didn't incorporate that because I know this talks about green synthesized nanoparticles that use plant materials, herbs, and so forth. Yeah. So I was looking forward to, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, thank you. I think I think I combined with the materials when I was just talking about materials. We're likely to see a lot of this smart material coming on board. Basically, I was supposed to include that. Maybe just because of the time, I realized I've got so many slides. So I eliminate some of this. But basically, we are likely to see a lot of these green materials, probably with the advantage that plants, they've got a lot of biomolecules that can be used for treatment and formulations quicker and easy, like a 3D printer, which I indicated. So with a single formulation, we're likely to achieve a lot.
Lee, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi,
yes,
Lee.
We can hear you. You may proceed. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I had problems with my audio earlier. But my question is, first of all, thank you, Doc, for the presentation. My question is, does doctors in South Africa already prescribe these types of nano therapeutics? And then secondly, how does the prices compare with the existing pharmaceuticals?
Lee, thank you so much for the question. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll assume because they like I told you, there are almost 50, 58 of them. So I'm not sure which one is actually in our clinics or not. I think, yeah, not clinicians might not know more of these kind of informations. So I assume they are using some of this, like the first the doxyl which I was talking about. Definitely, I'm sure they're using it for some cancer somewhere. The Abrexin, which I was talking about, I'm sure they are available in our clinics or in our pharmaceutics, in our pharmacy. And I'm not sure about the price either. I'm just a scientist, so I'm not familiar with the pricing, with some of the clinical part of it.
Then, sorry, Doc, I have a lot of questions. Then the last question would be, what are the quality assurance mechanisms that is built for this new type of technology?
I'm not 100% for the question, the quality assurance. Maybe if you can elaborate what you're referring to, so I can give you a proper answer.
Yes.
Like
so,
whether this is safe or not. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I'm. Referring to.
Yeah, basically they are. I mean, like I told you, like the approval of nanotechnology with or nano RNA and nano is not starting with the COVID. It started way back in 2018 with the SRN interference. This is because it's RNA that was incorporated within the nanoparticles and showing no any problems. I think so far they are quite safe, because another thing is, like, you just have to understand that the formulation of using lipids are just something that is common everywhere in our body. These materials, they are quite safe because these are something that is part of our body. And messenger RNA, these are just genetic materials. It's not even a virus, you know. This is the advantage about using this messenger RNA. You don't use any part of a virus. You're just using some genetic materials that are able to produce some spike proteins. This is not even a spike protein that are used. So for me, I feel like they're very safe.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay, no problem. Any other question?
Banele, the floor is yours. Thank you.
I see 3 hands. Do you perhaps, Lerato?
Okay, I gave Banele the floor to ask question before.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Banele?
Okay, Lindy, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Doctor, for a lovely presentation. It's very informative, I must say. I've got a few questions. I was wondering if we, maybe here in South Africa, we are planning to have these robotic systems, you know, like a nano driller and all these fancy robotic systems that are in place. I'm not sure if you have some idea, maybe somewhere in Cape Town.
Yeah.
So because we always run behind with these technologies, and it would be good to actually have such technologies. I'm not sure if we have some information on that.
Yeah, I do have. Thank you so much, Doc. I think I do have some information regarding that. I think in South Africa, we don't have any of this fancy technology that I was talking about. But it is very important as a country not to always left behind. I think with the issue that we have in the entire continent is the issue of lack of investment. We are not getting a big investors. Because if you're looking about all those companies that I was talking about, the startup company, they are getting like billions invested for them to start this kind of technology. And some of this technology are talking about the Rice University, the MIT. Those are the people that are putting all effort towards this kind of technology. And also, the interesting thing that I also find myself when it comes to this fancy technology, it shows to me that our future medicine may not necessarily coming from pharmacy. Future medicine will come from physics, come from engineering, because these are the people who are engineering things to treat, and which is much better comparing to what we have right now.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't have these robotic things happening in South Africa. Not only on nano, I think robotic in general, we just don't have a lot of investment, a lot of research around robotic in general in the country.
Yeah. No, because I was also, because what's also interesting, you know, when you look at the non-driller, I'm not sure whether it focuses on the primary, so like the primary cancer cells and not the metastasized one, because obviously there could be some synergy going on with the use of this nano driller and also maybe a lipid-based nanotechnology, because
that
one it caters for anything in the bloodstream. So
awesome.
Yes. So, but it would be
nano
nice.
drill, I don't think they're specific for any cells. They can drill any cells. They don't drill only cancer cells. They can.
Oh, okay. No,
because they can be directed.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think there is issue of directing them to a specific type of cells. So maybe engineering them in such a way that they can also have some ligand. Before they drill, maybe they bind the specific cells and they start drilling. So maybe that's what's actually we're likely to see in the future, where this nano driller, they can be incorporated with the ligand. The ligand will allow them to go to specific cells of interest, and then you can start drilling after the binds to the receptor.
Yeah, no, it would be nice because, I mean, if we look at the current technologies that are being used for cancer, like for the radiation, which does not only focuses on the cancer cells, it also tap into the normal cells. So it'd be nice to have a technology that focuses only on a specific organelle, like for cancer. Yeah, but that's one question that I have. But my other concern is, you know, there isn't much of data that has been published, especially with these nanotechnologies, to see, I mean, the pharmaceutical aspects, especially if you have to give, if you use an oral delivery system. You know, we were talking about the classification of drug, because, I mean, if the drugs are they're being classified, you know, as maybe class 1, which is, for example, high solubility and high permeability. So it'd be nice to know if you encapsulate these drugs into the using polymer delivery system, whether they are reclassified now to say a low permeable drug is now highly or highly permeable and highly soluble. So I think we may need more data, especially on the medicine aspect of this nanotechnology. Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Doc. I think we need a lot of data, because the more data, the more we can understand the challenge within this sum of materials. I think that's what we need. But like I said, I think now, since we've got the success of COVID, I think many people are aware now that nanotechnology is no longer science fiction, it's a reality. We're more likely to see a lot of people embarking on investing on these things. Like I told you already, we've got some kind of success in HIV using the same messenger RNA, which were engineered for specific for COVID, but specific for HIV.
Right. No, thanks so much, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Mufamadi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Mufamadi, I just wonder, how does this 3 printed drugs work? I mean, how do you know how the formulation, not the whole formulation process, but how you know, in very simple terms, do you know how you can explain them? Because I'm trying to visualize.
Yeah, it's simple. It's just simple. Yeah. So I know how it works. So 3D printings, it's actually work the same way we formulating using microfluidic technology. So what you do, you got a chamber where you're putting your ingredients. You know, it's like you're baking cake here. You put in different type of ingredients. Other ingredient will be your own drug of interest. Other part will be nanomaterials, or which in the 3D printer, they are called the ink. They're called nano ink. They're called ink because 3D printer is a printer for printing papers, but here we're printing medicines. So, but this printer, it have got ink. The ink, it will be our nanomaterials, and it will have other ingredients, which will be our drugs. So while it's printing, there's a mixing thing going on in the process. So basically what I've seen from what they did with the one which is Aprecia, which was approved, it shows that what you do, the printer will print one thin layer, a nano thin layer, like a membrane on the floor. It prints on the floor. The second part, it will print drugs, again on the top, and the top, it put another, like a bedding. It's like you put a blanket, sleep on top. On top, you put a drug. Another one, you come again with another printing, and you put another layer of nanomaterials. You can do that way. Some, they come in a cocktails, where it's just a cocktail that are printed using an ink as a cocktail in printing this.
Okay, and this will be administered orally, I guess.
Yeah, the drug that is already approved is oral.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just on a follow-up question on nanorobots, nanobots and drillers. They've been, people are still skeptical about nanotechnology, and I'm sure a lot are shocked to hear that Pfizer is actually one of those that have nanotech in it, and probably they were not aware. But the minute you say nanotechnology and medicine, people are scared. The question now, and the reason being, once you give me, like you said, this metallic nanoparticles, your zinc, gold, and silver metals that can be used against viruses and bacteria, where do these metals end up in the body? How does the body now deal with these metals? Because they are not supposed to remain in the body. They need to be excreted somehow, because they are not formally or usually part of our bodies, and unlike with the messenger RNAs in them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big problems when it comes to metallic materials. Yeah. But although one thing that is very exciting about metallic nanomaterials is that at the nanoscales, they behave completely different comparing to these other materials that we see. Like example, I was telling someone that you can treat a disease using gold nanomaterials. You can treat disease with diamonds. And someone is thinking, oh, wow. I was just laughing with my friend who got a tooth with a gold. He said, oh, wow, it means I can treat myself already because I already put gold in my tooth. so I was just telling them, it's also depending on the materials. Materials at nano size, they behave completely different than the one that are bigger size or solid structure size. So at the nanoparticles at smaller size, they are more soluble in many other things. But I think because of the size, they're more likely to be excreted just like any other excretion. I'm not 100% sure, but this actually is it's a room where they still need to be improved, where we need to find a way to deal with them to be excreted out on our body. Otherwise, they remaining causing a hazard for causing other diseases that are known.
Yes, and I mean, that's also the robots. If there'll be these robots that are injected in our veins to, monitor blockages in our veins, how will those robots be taken out? I guess it makes sense when it's surgery taking place, because doctors can easily drive in those robots and drive them out because it's the body's being opened up. But when you have to ingest a nano driller, for instance, how will but I think this is some of the information that the public need to understand. Where do these things end up? And if they're excreted, maybe they need to be taught how they're excreted.
I think, like I said, when I started my presentation, I said that whatever I'm going to present will sound like science fiction. I was referring to things like this. But I mean, like you all know that technology, when it's growing and advancing, we're learning about things. Like I talk about that graphene. These are the things that we all know. Graphene. Graphene was what we know ourselves. Like in the pencil when we were growing at school, we're using these pencils. The materials that is used in the pencil are graphene. Who could think this thing can use for medicine? Today, because of engineering, modifying, all this would go with the modification of these materials in the process that with the engineering and learning more about them and modifying them and characterize them in such a way they become biodegradable in the long run. So I think that's where we might see a lot of success of using materials like this, or even robotic materials. But robotic, I think the advantage about them is that you can able to label them in such a way that you can do something like the same thing like a isotope. Isotope. You can tell if someone have got exposed to isotope. So with nanorobots, we are likely to see them like you using like an X-ray, isotope, MRI to able to see them fluorescence in your body to show that you still have some left over, or they're clothing a certain part of your body or your kidney as such. But like I said, these are the technology of the future. But with the future understanding, we're more likely to see this possible. I mean, possibility is everything. I mean, like, who could think a security could be the nurse? And I'm just laughing with my friend. I said, in future, a person who's doing security must done a short course in nursing so they understand what is the temperature stand for. So anything is possible. I think it's just an issue of understanding the technology. It probably will take a couple of years, but learning about them, modifying them, we are more likely to find them being suitable to use in our bodies.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Any question from the audience? Okay, we thought, I think I will hand over to Didimalo. Didimalo, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for attending this public lecture, especially the audience. Thank you so much for your questions and your interest. And on behalf of the Science Center, I would like to thank SAASTA and the Department of Science and Innovation for hosting this public lecture. And most importantly, thank you to Dr. Stephen Mufamadi. Yes, Mufamadi, for actually being our speaker for today. We really learned a lot from him. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. This brings us to the end of the lecture. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.